Hi traders, welcome back to the channel. So as a risk manager and coach, I'm always looking to, optimize my services and optimize, the best I can do to help traders succeed. And one of the ways to do that is to sort of always remind myself what my goal is. My goal as a risk manager is not to tell people where to place stops, not the best targets, things like that. It's about longevity. It's about getting traders who have a dream to give them the path and walk them through the steps to allow them to succeed and even get them through the rough patches along that journey. But the scope is pretty wide, and any real risk manager, whether it's at the individual level, prop firm, hedge funds, they have to deal with the human element of things, the human side of things, and the reality. And the reality is why a lot of traders quit and leave is because they get the tap, not from the risk manager, not from the firm, not from another trader. It's, honey, I want you to quit trading. Okay, so I've had this one on the shelf for a while, but I really want to address this sort of sensitive issue, which seems to be coming up more and more. Maybe it's the volatility that, traders are kind of, digging deeper in their pockets or making more additional withdrawals or having margin calls, things like that. But it's really the reality of it. And if the goal of a coach is to keep the trader engaged and really through those rough patches to reach the goals, well, this is where I have to step in. Just a side note, I was writing one of my books a few years back, and the publisher saw this chapter on spousal risk, and they go, "What's this all about?" It's kind of like so disconnected to the other chapters about trade management, things like that, and they really wanted to scrap it. And I says, "No, it's really, really important to keep this in here because it really is a part of the risk management of trading. It's the inevitability that people in your life are going to come and say, you got to stop doing this." And it could be a spouse, a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, even your own family members. How many have been subjected to that before? All right. Yeah, they just don't believe you can do it. And when you're along that journey, quite honestly, you're giving them some good good reasons to question your reason why you want to do this. Even if the why is that other person, family, spouse, or whatever, they're going to be the biggest beneficiaries of it. But there are times when it comes to play and say, honey, you got the tap. That's it. Or even worse, 3 months. Now you have a time deadline. Have you ever experienced that before? Where now you have a time limit, which, talk about going from abundance to scarcity. So what can we do about it as traders and realistically do it while at the same time, not cause any tension or friction in the household, or your friends or family, or whatever the case may be. It's a very sensitive situation, but there is some solutions which I have found from a coaching perspective really can sort of help out, or at minimum, and this is between traders, or maybe drag the time duration along a little bit. Give yourself a little more time to get the learning curve going. All right. So let's look at some bullets here, takeaways. And if you're not in this situation, maybe you know another trader who is in this situation, and maybe you can help them, be an accountability partner to help them get through this sort of, and in some cases, a very, very challenging time. I mean, there's a threat of your dream or vision of being a trader ending. So this is kind of important. Let's take it seriously, but let's go over some ideas, some bullet points on what you can do to get over this obstacle. All right, first, explain again to your spouse, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, family, or even best friend, whoever it is who's telling you you shouldn't be doing this. Explain to them the process of what the journey entails and where you are in that journey. A lot of times it's not just about they're seeing the P&L or they're seeing losses or whatever. They're not understanding the journey. And they're not understanding that this is not a regular, paycheck every week kind of job. And the struggles that you're going through are pretty much normal for even the most successful of traders. But being transparent with them about the journey itself should alleviate or at least allow for a discussion to take place. So keep it at a high level, but start the conversation about the journey, what it entails to be a good trader. And included in that is the self-identification, or if you've done it with your coach, identify the areas that you're doing really well at and the areas of where you're currently struggling, and provide the solution that you have and how you're going along with it. Okay. Transparency, I think, is really, really important in the sense of keeping the other person engaged in the process. All right. So Be very transparent about these are the things I'm good at, these are the things I'm working at, and by the way, here's the plan that I have and how I'm overcoming those obstacles. All right, next. Reassure them that they will be the biggest beneficiary of your success when that time comes. All right. A lot of times I see this disconnect where they see the dream of what you want to do, but they really don't connect the lifestyle or the life that could be if and when you become successful. So really that support engine is really, really important, but they don't seem to see the reason that they are really the winners in this game. So sort of communicate that and explain that they're your why. That's the reason why you're doing this, and really be upfront about it. All right. I'm not trying to buy time here or trying to sell the idea. Just let them know, because a lot of times when I've been in situations where I'm watching this dialogue go on and a coach has to get involved, they never even knew that, what the potential was, the trader was successful. So be very transparent and understand and let them know they are the why. All right, next. And sometimes it's tough to do this, especially after losing weeks and things like that, and you're in drawdown. Get ahead of the story in regards to the money. All right. Be very upfront. All right. Be very transparent. You don't have to show trade journals of every record, but say, look, this is where I'm doing. This is where I had a setback. Currently, I'm in a setback, but this is my plan. I'm going to keep trading the plan. Show them your compliance records. Okay. If your compliance is suffering, be very transparent and say, this is the thing I'm working on. All right. And hopefully you have a coach that's going to help you get there. All right. But be very open about the money part. It's something where we really want to discuss it in our trading world. We want to focus on the process, but you really have to be open about, look, if you're making additional deposits or things like that, you want to be very, very sensitive to that, because now you're starting to affect other people's lives, where in trading, you're just focused on doing the best thing you can do to be the best trader, right? So you want to be very upfront about that. I've seen too many horror stories where they find out towards the end and it just, you're digging a deep hole and it's pretty much game over at that point. So just get it out in front, okay? The best traders have losing weeks, days. They go into drawdown, all right? And during their development stages, if you have the support and the plan to show what you're doing to address it and to really convey that it is sort of normal in a sense, or at least it happens on a regular basis, and you're keeping that minimized, at least it keeps the dialogue going further. All right, next. And again, this may not apply in all situations. And I'm trying to be very open here and not biased towards the trader, although, in a sense, most of the time, the trader is my client. All right. But you're looking to buy some time here. Let's get it out. Let's get it out of the open here, too. Then you got to quit now. Well, give me a couple of weeks. Well, that's not going to do anything, too. If you show you have a plan and a constructive plan, and that puts the burden on you to say, okay, in the next 6 months, the next year, this is what plans on happening. I need that amount of time. If you say 3 months, it's just not going to happen. But show the goods. Show you have a plan. Show what you're working on. Show you have a coach, an accountability partner. I rarely preach the need for a coach, but this is a time and a situation where a lot of the times the coach gets involved. And quite honestly, I've been in tables where it's been the trader and their spouse, and I'll say, okay, I just need you to leave for a second. I just want to talk one-on-one. And the spouse will leave. I go, no. I want the trader to leave. I want to talk to the spouse and realize they are the most important part of this equation. Their support means everything. It puts the trader in a state of abundance versus a state of scarcity. And by sort of having a time limit, it's really going to put them in a state of scarcity, and you pretty much don't have a chance. So really, really important to address the time element that you need to be successful. And you could work with your coach on establishing time lanes to where you should be, reasonable timeframes, where you should be sort of getting out of your rut and learning the way you should do. All right, next. A lot of the time, it's not about the amount of time that you're devoting to this that's ticking your other half off, all right? It's the money. Let's face it, it's the money. So look towards focusing on using outside capital to fund. So a lot of times say, well, look, I know this is a struggle. I'm not doing good, but I'm learning, but I'm doing the right things. I have a coach. I have a program to support me. I've identified the things I need to work on. And by the way, it's not costing us a dime. Okay. That's usually the sort of, all right, honey, I'll let you keep doing this, right? I have found. Once the money gets involved and the L's, the losses and the red numbers in the spreadsheet, that's usually when it's kind of game over, or it's kind of tough hill to climb. And we've talked about that so far. But once you say, well, no, the whole idea is I'm going to get outside capital. and I'm going to kind of build my resume with outside capital. And after that happens, we could either use our own capital, or I can even get more capital and attract more capital because my track record is going to be sort of the resume to that next step. Very often I've seen where the spouse is, or partner is just, yeah, okay, that's fine. All right. I'm not crazy about you devoting all the time to it, but if that's what you want to do, honey, go ahead. So think about using outside capital. Really, really, really important here. Money seems to be the biggest sensitivity nerve, and I can't blame them to do that, especially if you have kids, mortgage, things like that. But if you're using outside capital and maybe, just some funding expenses, usually they're pretty cool with it. All right, next, and I've done some of these, and it seems like they're happening more often when I've reached out to a lot of my traders who are having this sort of sensitive situation, is let the spouse join the coaching call. All right, I think it's pretty cool. I have no problem having a third party like myself, which the trader has hired to kind of do the dirty laundry here. All right, I keep it real. I keep it open. I do all the things that we talked about, let them know that they're the why, this and that, and really have realistic expectations. And I explain to them what the situation is, what their weaknesses are, what their threats are, and what we're doing to overcome them. All right. Once they sort of participate and realize, hey, as a trader, you've done a lot of work to get where you are now. You're not just like watching YouTube videos and just like, cranking out strategies and hopping all over the place. You got the right structure in place, and now you just need that spouse or partner to be on your side as your support engine. And who better to do the dirty work than the coach? All right, lastly, and this is something that I kind of take pride in too, and I try to come across as likable, and I really want to make sure my job is to make sure the trader reaches their goals, but at the same time, sometimes you need an a-hole as a coach to really push you in that direction. All right. Wake you up and just let you know how serious the mistakes that you're making and the controls that we're putting in place to do it are to your success. And all the things that you want are at risk. All right. So when you're vetting a coach out, you want one that's going to be effective, but at the same time, like I had a performance coach the past few years just to help with me with overall life performance. Really not, she wasn't even a trader, right? She says, what are you looking for in a coach? And I said, I want someone to come into my life and kick my ass. That's literally the words I said. And she goes, I'm your girl. I says, hired, and she's tough. She like really whips me around, but I kind of like it that way. She puts me strict deadlines and stuff like that. This is the time where you don't need a coach who's going to be like, oh, that's okay. You made that mistake. So I know you added to losing positions and you moved your stop, and that's okay. Just work on it. No, threaten. Say, this is unacceptable. In fact, you know what? Your spouse is correct. Quit now. I will go into your account and turn your machine off, whatever the case may be. All right. You have to talk tough. And if you have a big dream, then you have to have a coach with a little chutzpah, all right? Let them know that there is very rarely no second chances. There's a few of them, but once you get others involved who don't believe in you, you pretty much only have one chance. And, again, have the coach step in and let you know that that's the case. All right, so let's wrap up some of these solutions that we talked about. I really, really want you to open the door to that prop funding route, because a lot of times you eliminate the problem in itself. It's really not about all the dreams and wishes that you had and even the time you're devoting, after hours or after work or before bedtime to do it. It's the money. Let's face it. It's about the money. So, go the prop firm route, right? Think about getting funded through prop firms or even just outside capital, which is an option as well. All right. That should alleviate a lot of the issues. All right. So the last few tips, all right, to you traders, all right, you got a last chance here. First, have a plan. All right. Identify what your problems are. Bring the goods to the table. All right. No more cutting corners. No more, I don't do the journal because I scalp and stuff. Enough already, all right? It's the 11th hour. Make sure you have the package presented, ready to go so you can explain your situation and do it, sometimes in data-driven fashion. Now, this may not be a good fit for everyone, but we talked earlier about getting your spouse involved and engaged. That doesn't mean showing them every little piece of your strategy, all right? They don't care about moving averages. They don't care about the tick charts. They don't care about ADRs or whatever the hell you're doing, all right? Where you enter on high volume. Engage them in the process and things that you're learning and things that you're good at. All right. Once they start doing that, and I've seen that in plenty of examples, now all of a sudden your spouse is now you just set them back even more. Like, honey, I don't care. Just show me how much money you're making, right? How much money did you make? So don't get them engaged, but don't get them too involved in each piece of the strategy. They don't care, all right? They want to see you progress. They want you to be successful. But how you do it, the minutia, you're just going to set them back even more. So let the spouse be the control process, all right? Let them be part of your accountability group. Show them weekly updates, all right? Explain to them what you did, what you didn't do, what's happening, all right? Even if it's not the results aren't there, they may get a sense that, hey, you know what? You really seem to be resolving some of the issues that you've had, all right? Maybe your one-on-one calls. Most coaches, they should at least have a summary report. Show them your summary report to them. Say, hey, look, this is what my coach and I talked about this week, all right? Get them a little engaged in that regard. All right, so I hope you got something out of this. Maybe you're in this situation, maybe you're not. Maybe you will be, so you want to, kind of keep it in your back pocket. But really, living and trading from a state of abundance is really, really important. And abundance isn't just about wealth. It's about having that support team there to help you and nobody in your way. All right. And a lot of times when it's comes someone that, is close to you or, a loved one or a family member or even like really close friends, I've seen a lot of friends destroy other traders' goals and dreams. All right. No bueno. All right. We want to eliminate that. So take a look at these tips. Let me know which ones resonated with you. All right. We have several different coaching programs that address these things, and I personally include that in the one-on-one sessions if it's necessary. Some people opt to do it. Other people are a little sensitive. Other people may just want to see the reports that they could show to their spouse. We do that all here, so something to consider for the future. And if you made it this far, I probably hit a nerve in some way or another. Click on the link below. I'll give you a sample of the one-on-one summary sheets that we do for our coaching calls, and you can provide that. You can review it. You can provide it to your spouse and say, hey, look, these are some of the things that the coaching community does, and that will help me get to where I want to go. Maybe even just a generic sample will help in that regard. Whatever situation you're in, I hope this information helps, and we'll see you next time.